Hey guys, tonight we slip into the soft, golden glow of the Garden of Eden, where the air hums with a kind of peace you'd trade your Wi-Fi for. Picture this, you're standing barefoot on grass, so lush it feels like a cloud, with fruit heavy, trees swaying gently, their leaves whispering secrets in a breeze that smells like honey and eternity. Birds you've never seen dart overhead, flashing colors that don't even have names yet. This is where it all begins. The story of Adam and Eve, humanity's first chapter, written in a paradise so perfect you'd probably weep if you saw it. But here's the kicker. You probably won't survive this story without questioning every choice you've ever made. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I'm curious where you're drifting off from tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You blink, and the world comes alive around you. The sun's first rays spill over the horizon, painting the Garden of Eden in hues of amber and rose. You're not just anywhere, this is the original VIP lounge. It's crafted by God himself, where every blade of grass feels intentional. The rivers, 4 of them, shimmer like liquid crystal, winding through the garden with names that roll off the tongue. Piscine, Gihon, Tigris, Euphrates. You can almost hear their gentle gurgle, a soundtrack to a world without deadlines or doom scrolling. The trees are heavy with fruit pomegranates. Figs may be something wilder, like starfruit before it had a name. You're standing in a place where hunger doesn't exist, where the concept of Monday blues is as foreign as a tax return. This is Eden, the ultimate flex of divine landscaping. But let's zoom in. You're not alone here. Somewhere nearby, Adam and Eve are waking up to their first full day. They're not stressed about rent or existential dread. They're just existing in perfect sync with this paradise. The mainstream scoop. Genesis 2 tells us God planted this garden as a home for humanity, a place where everything was very good. No Wi-Fi, sure, but also no suffering, no pain, no scrolling through X for conspiracy theories about who invented sadness. Speaking of conspiracies, here's a quirky tidbit. Some ancient Jewish texts, Kai, like the Talmud, hint that Eden might have been a cosmic hotspot, a place where heaven and earth overlapped. Kai, like a divine Airbnb with infinite stars on its rating. Historians still argue whether Eden was a literal place, maybe tucked in Mesopotamia, or a poetic symbol of lost innocence. You decide, but standing here, it feels real enough to make you ditch your phone for a gardening hoe. Don't you wander closer to the center of the garden, where 2 trees stand out like VIPs at a festival. One's the tree of life, its branches practically glowing with promise. The other is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, its fruit looking suspiciously juicy. You don't know the rules yet, but you can feel the weight of that tree, like it's daring you to take a closer look. Spoiler, you probably shouldn't. Adam and Eve are about to learn that the hard way, but for now, they're blissfully unaware, strolling through Eden like they owned the place. And in a way, they do. God gave them dominion over every creeping thing, from lions to whatever those sparkly beetles are scuttling past your feet. You can't help but envy them. No notifications, no traffic, just vibes. But you also know, deep down, that perfection like this never lasts. It's like when you get a free trial of a streaming service too good, and you know the catch is coming. You pause by a riverbank, dipping your toes in water so clear it's basically showing off. You're starting to get why this place feels like the ultimate reset button. It's not just the scenery, it's the absence of chaos. No bills, no bosses, no existential dread about whether you're living your best life. Adam and Eve are out there naming animals like they're playing the world's chillest game of charades. You can almost hear Adam pointing at a giraffe and going, long Nesky boy. While Eve laughs, it's cute, but you're already sensing the plot twist. That tree, the one with the forbidden fruit, is like a pop-up ad in paradise, just waiting to ruin the vibe. For now, you're soaking it in, letting the warmth of Eden's sunrise wrap around you like a blanket. You're here, in the calm before the storm, and it feels like the world's holding its breath. You're still standing in Eden's glow, the sunrise, now a warm blanket across the garden, and you can't shake the feeling that something big is about to happen. The air is so pure, it's practically showing off, and you're surrounded by trees that look like they've been curated by a divine interior designer. But your eyes are drawn to a patch of earth where something extraordinary unfolds. You're about to witness the main event, the creation of Adam and Eve, the first humans, handcrafted by God himself. It's like watching a master sculptor at work, except the materials are dust and divine breath, and the stakes are, well, all of humanity. Your front row for the origin story of us all. So buckle up though, let's be real. You probably won't survive this without wondering why you're not made of something cooler than dirt. The ground beneath your feet starts to shift, in a scary, earthquake way, but like it's being gently kneaded by invisible hands. You see a mound of dust fine, reddish-brown, like the kind you'd sweep off a porch begin to take shape. Genesis 2:7 says God formed Adam from the dust of the ground, and that's exactly what you're seeing. It's not some quick DIY project. It's deliberate, like God's sculpting a masterpiece. The dust swirls, gathers, and molds into a human form: arms, legs, a face with eyes still closed. Then, a breeze that feels alive brushes past you, and you realize it's not just wind, it's God breathing life into Adam. His chest rises, higher, his eyes flutter open, and there he is, blinking into existence like he just woke up from the best nap ever. You can't help but chuckle. The guy's literally born from dirt, yet he's already got better posture than you after a Netflix binge. Adam's up and moving, naming animals like he's hosting a wildlife podcast. You're impressed, but the story's not done. God decides Adam needs a partner, and you're about to see round 2 of creation. You notice Adam dozing off God's put him into a deep sleep, like divine anesthesia. You lean in, curious, as God takes one of Adam's ribs. No blood, no mess, just a smooth, purposeful act. From that rib, God shapes Eve, and you're struck by how intentional it feels, like every curve and feature is crafted with care. When Eve opens her eyes, it's like the garden itself lights up a little brighter. She's not just Adam's +1. She's his equal, his counterpart, ready to take on Eden together. You're half jealous, half struck, imagining them high-fiving over how cool it is to be the first humans. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some ancient Jewish midrashim suggest Eve wasn't the first attempt at a female companion. There's a legend about Lilith, a figure some texts claim was created before Eve, but ditched Eden because she wasn't into the whole submissive partner vibe. Scholars debate whether Lilith was a real part of early Jewish lore or a later feminist spin, but it's a wild side note that makes you wonder what else didn't make the final cut of Genesis. Speaking of debates, historians still argue whether the rib story is literal or symbolic. Maybe it's about equality, since the rib's close to the heart, or maybe it's just God showing off his recycling skills. Either way, you're watching Adam and Eve, the OG power couple, step into their roles as Eden's caretakers. You wander closer, noticing how they move with a kind of effortless grace, like they're in sync with the garden's rhythm. They're not worried about Wi-Fi passwords or existential dread. They're just living. God's given them dominion over everything: lions, birds, those sparkly beetles you saw earlier, and they're naming stuff like it's a game. You can imagine Adam pointing at a peacock and going, fancy feather dude, while Eve suggests something classier, It's almost too perfect, and you know from that forbidden tree you glimpsed earlier that perfection doesn't last. But for now, they're in their honeymoon phase, and Eden's their playground. You pause by a tree, its fruit so ripe it's practically begging to be picked. You're starting to get why this place feels like a dream. Everything's provided. No Amazon Prime required. Adam and Eve are nearby, laughing as they try to name a particularly stubborn-looking camel. You can't help but smile, but there's a tiny knot in your stomach. That tree of knowledge, with its suspiciously shiny fruit, is still out there, lurking like a plot twist in a rom-com. But now, you let yourself sink into the moment, watching humanity's first duo figure out their place in paradise. It's like the calm before a storm you can't quite see yet, but the air's already crackling with what's to come. You're still wandering through Eden, the garden sweetness clinging to the air like a lullaby you can't stop humming. The trees around you are practically showing off, dripping with fruit that makes your local grocery store look like a scam. You're still buzzing from the vibe of Adam and Eve's carefree life, but something's shifting. You're near that tree, again, the one with the do not touch sign in God's handwriting. Its fruit glints like it's been edited with a filter, and you're not alone anymore. A serpent slithers into view, its scales catching the light, like it's auditioning for a villain role. You lean in, eavesdropping as it starts whispering to Eve, its voice smooth as a late-night radio host. This is it, the moment where paradise gets a plot twist. And you probably won't survive this without side-eyeing every do not touch sign you've ever ignored. Picture this. Eden's your playground, and God's handed you the keys. Can eat from any tree, pomegranates, figs, maybe some glow-in-thought fruit nobody's named yet. You can swim in rivers so clear they make your local pool look like a swamp. You're free to nap under trees, chase gazelles, or invent the first ever TikTok dance with zero judgment. Genesis 2:16-17 lays it out. God tells Adam he's got free reign over every tree in the garden. No limits, no fine print, except for one. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil is off limits, with the warning that eating its fruit means death. It's like God saying, enjoy the buffet, but that one dish. Yeah, it's spiked with existential dread. You're standing near it now, its branches heavy with fruit that's somehow shinier than everything else, like it's been polished by a cosmic influencer. You can't help but wonder why this tree's even here. It's like putting a big red button labeled "Do Not Press" in the middle of paradise. Adam and Eve seem chill about it though, strolling past without a second glance. They're too busy living their best lives, naming animals, eating fruit, probably debating whether a zebra's black with white stripes or white with black ones. You're jealous of their vibe, but you're also picking up on the tension. This tree's not just a tree, it's a test. God's given them freedom, sure, but also a choice: obey or roll the dice. You're starting to see why this story's been debated for centuries. It's the ultimate terms and conditions moment. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some Jewish midrashim claimed the forbidden fruit wasn't an apple, as pop culture loves to paint it, but maybe a fig, grape, or even wheat. Yeah, wheat-like. What if the fall of humanity was caused by a rogue loaf of bread? Imagine Adam and Eve eating their innocence for a sourdough starter. Historians still argue whether the tree was a literal plant or a symbol of moral choice. Was it a real fruit that flipped a switch in their brains, or a metaphor for stepping out of innocence into a world of tough calls? Either way, you're staring at it now, okay? And it's giving serious, don't touch the thermostat energy. You wander closer, the grass tickling your feet. And notice how the tree stands out, like it's got its own spotlight. The rest of Eden feels like a warm hug, but this spot, it's got a vibe, like the one time you ignored a wet paint sign and regretted it instantly. Adam and Eve aren't here right now. They're probably off naming a platypus and laughing at its weirdness, but you can feel the weight of that rule hanging in the air. Freedom's great, but it comes with a shadow. You can do anything, eat anything, be anything, except for this one thing. It's like being told you can binge every show on Netflix, but must skip that one episode everyone's talking about. Tempting, right? You step back, shaking your head, and grab another fruit from a nearby tree safe. Delicious. No cosmic consequences. You're starting to get why Eden's such a big deal. It's not just the endless fruit or the lack of taxes. It's the simplicity. Adam and Eve don't have to worry about algorithms or existential dread. They've got one job: enjoy and don't touch that tree. You're almost rooting for them, but you know, deep down, that forbidden things have a way of whispering your name. Remember that time you borrowed a cookie from the jar and blamed the dog? Yeah, this tree's got that energy, but on a divine scale. For now, you let the garden's hum pull you back, the river's murmur lulling you into a moment of peace, but you can't shake the feeling that something's waiting, just out of sight, ready to change everything. You're still in Eden. The garden's glow, now tinged with a nervous buzz, like the moment before a plot twist drops in your favorite show. The serpent just slithered off, leaving its words hanging in the air like a bad TikTok trend. Eve's standing by that tree, the one with the fruit that's practically screaming, "Eat me," with its glossy, too perfect shine. You're close enough to see her hesitate, her fingers brushing the fruit as if it's whispering back, but the rivers are still gurgling, the birds still chirping, but it's like the whole garden's holding its breath. You're about to witness the moment everything changes. It's the bite that flips paradise upside down. And you probably won't survive this without rethinking every time you grabbed just one cookie from the jar. The serpent, not just any snake, it's crafty, the kind of slick talker who could sell sand in a desert. Genesis 3:2-1 calls it more crafty than any other beast, and you're getting why. It's coiled around the tree, eyes glinting like it knows something you don't. Eve's nearby, picking fruit from a safe tree, but the serpent's got her attention. It starts with a question, all casual like, did God really say you can't eat from any tree in the garden? You can practically hear the smirk in its voice, like it's baiting her into a debate. Eve corrects it, saying they can eat from any tree except the one of knowledge, or they'll die. But the serpent's ready with a comeback, smooth as a used car salesman. You will not surely die. It says in Genesis 3:2-4-5, eat it, and you'll be like God, knowing good and evil. You're standing there, jaw dropped, thinking, wow, this snake's got some serious game. You can't help but feel the tension. Staring at the fruit now, and it's like the trees glowing with forbidden Wi-Fi signals. The serpent's pitch is working, promising wisdom, power, a VIP pass to God-level insight. You're tempted to yell, "Don't do it, Eve," like you're watching a horror movie and she's about to check the creepy basement, but you're just a fly on the wall, watching history's first MLM pitch go down. Here's a mainstream fact. Christian tradition often pegs this serpent as Satan in disguise. Though Genesis doesn't name drop him, it's like the Bible's leaving room for a sequel reveal. Meanwhile, some quirky ancient texts, like the apocryphal Life of Adam and Eve, suggest the serpent was jealous of humanity's VIP status in Eden, so it decided to stir the pot. Historians still argue whether the serpent's a literal snake, symbol of temptation, or something weirder, like a cosmic trickster testing God's setup. You're rooted to the spot, watching Eve's face as she mulls it over. The serpent's words are like earworms, burrowing deep. Be like God, it said. Who wouldn't want that? It's like being offered the cheat codes to the universe. Eve's hand hovers near the fruit, her eyes flicking between it and the serpent. You can almost hear her thoughts. What's the worst that could happen? Eve, you sweet summer child, you're about to find out. The garden's still hummingbirds chirping, rivers gurgling, but it's like the air is holding its breath. You're starting to see why this moment's a big deal. It's not just about a snack. It's about choice, trust, and that sneaky voice whispering, "Go for it." Glance at the serpent, and it's giving off major "I'm just asking" questions vibes, like a shady ex post trying to start drama. You want to shake Eve? Tell her to stick to the safe fruit. Maybe whip up a smoothie instead. But she's hooked, and you're just along for the ride. Remember that time you ignored a low battery warning and your phone died mid-call? Yeah, this is that, but with the eternal consequences. The serpent slinks back into the shadows. Its job done, and you're left watching Eve, her hand inching closer to the fruit. The garden's still perfect, but there's a crack in the vibe now, like a glitch in the matrix. You're not sure what's next, but you know it's not going to be as chill as naming animals or napping by the river. 4. Now, you're stuck, heart pounding, waiting to see if Eve takes the bait. You're still in Eden, but the vibe's taken a hard left from paradise to awkward family reunion. The air's still sweet, the river's still sparkling, but there's a new tension, like the garden just got a bad Yelp review. You're standing near that tree. It's forbidden fruit now, missing a couple of bites, and you can't take your eyes off Adam and Eve. They're not the carefree duo you saw earlier, naming animals like they're on a first-name basis with nature. Now they're hunched behind a bush, clutching their DIY fig leaf outfits like they've just been caught in a Zoom meeting with no pants on. You're watching them grapple with this new, prickly feeling shame, and it's about to get worse because God's coming. And you probably won't survive this without flashbacking to every time you hid. It's from your mom after breaking something. Eve's eyes are locked on the fruit now, and you can almost feel the serpent's words echoing in her head. You'll be like God, knowing good and evil. Genesis 3:26 says she saw the fruit was good for food, a delight to the eyes, and desirable for wisdom. You get it too. Looks like the juiciest thing in Eden, like it's been genetically engineered to go viral. She plucks it, and you wince, half expecting an alarm to blare like in a museum heist. She takes a bite, slow and deliberate, the crunch echoing like a bad decision in a quiet room. You're frozen, watching her chew, her face shifting from curiosity to something deeper, like she's just downloaded the entire internet. Then she turns to Adam, who's wandered over, probably wondering why she's staring at her fruit like it's a new iPhone. She hands it to him, and deep, he takes a bite too. You're screaming internally, "Dude, you had one job." Suddenly, it's like someone flipped a switch. Genesis 3:7 says their eyes were opened, and you see it happen. They look at each other, then down at themselves, and it's like they've just realized they're in a reality show with no clothes on. The innocence of Eden, poof, gone. Okay, they're scrambling, grabbing fig leaves and sewing them together like they're in a panic-induced craft session. Okay, you can't help but chuckle. Imagine trying to DIY a wardrobe out of leaves when you've never even heard of thread. It's like watching someone MacGyver an outfit from a houseplant. But beneath the comedy, there's a pang of sadness. They're not the carefree duo naming animals anymore. They're hiding, embarrassed, like they've just been caught sneaking out past curfew. Here's a mainstream fact. This moment, often called the fall of man in Christian theology, marks the introduction of sin into the world, a pivot point where humanity's relationship with God fractures. It's like the ultimate terms of service violation. For a quirky tidbit, some ancient Jewish texts speculate the fruit might have been a grape, and the fallout led to wine's invention. Yep, humanity's first hangover might have been divine punishment. Historians still argue whether the fall was a literal event or a metaphor for losing innocence. Like when you realize Santa wasn't real and the world got a bit grayer. So was it a real fruit that rewired their brains, or a symbol of choosing self over trust in God? You're watching it unfold, and it feels real enough to make you second-guess eating that apple in your lunchbox. You step back. Is the air heavier now? like Eden's vibe just got a low battery warning. Adam and Eve are huddled behind a bush, their makeshift leaf outfits looking like a bad Etsy project. You're struck by how fast it all changed one bite, and paradise feels like a memory. They're not just hiding from each other, they're hiding from God, who you know is about to show up. Remember that time you borrowed your friend's charger and avoided them for a week? Yeah, this is that guilt, but on a cosmic scale. The garden's still beautiful, but there's a shadow. Now, like a storm cloud, nobody invited. You want to shout? Guys, just apologize. But you're just a spectator, watching the consequences of that bite ripple out like a bad ex-post going viral. You linger near the tree, its fruit still gleaming, mocking you with its untouched extras. It's tempting to grab one yourself, just to see what all the fuss is about. But you're not that reckless, or are you? You'd probably stick to the safe paths. Adam and Eve are whispering to each other, their voices low, like they're plotting how to explain this to the ultimate boss. You're starting to feel the weight of what's coming. God's not going to be thrilled, and you're not sure if fig leaves are going to cut it as an apology. For now, you let the garden's hum pull you back. It's a soft rustle of leaves, a reminder that this story is far from over, and the next chapter's going to be a doozy. You're still crouched in Eden, the garden's glow now feeling like a spotlight on a stage where nobody wants to perform. The air's thick, not with humidity, but with that gut-twisting tension you get when you know you're about to get called out. Adam and Eve are still huddled behind their bush, their fig leaf outfits crinkling like the world's saddest cosplay. You can hear their whispers, frantic and low, like they're trying to get their story straight before the principal walks in. Except this isn't a principal, it's God, strolling through the garden in the cool of the day. And you're about to watch him ask the kind of questions that cut through excuses like a hot knife through butter. You probably won't survive this without flashing back to every time you tried to blame your sibling for a mess you made. Their eyes are wide, darting around like they're expecting a cosmic pop quiz. Genesis 3:27 hit you hard. In the last scene, their eyes were opened, and suddenly they're hyper-aware. They're naked. It's not the fun skinny dipping kneading kind of naked, but the oh no, everyone's staring kind. You see them fumbling with fig leaves, stitching them together with who knows what vines, probably since Etsy's not a thing yet. It's almost comical, like watching someone try to wrap a present with only tape and bad intentions. But there's a heaviness to it too. They're not just covering their bodies, they're covering something deeper, like they've just realized they're not perfect anymore. You can relate. Remember that time you overshared in a group chat and wished you could vanish? This is that, but with eternal consequences. You creep closer. The grass soft under your feet, and notice how they're whispering to each other, their voices low and panicked. They're not laughing about goofy animal names anymore. Strategizing like kids who broke a lamp and are debating whether to blame the dog. You hear a rustle, a shift in the air, and your stomach drops. God's coming. Genesis 3:28 says he's walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And you can almost feel the breeze shift, like the universe is bracing itself. Adam and Eve hear it too, and they dive deeper into the bushes, their leaf outfits crinkling like the world's worst stealth gear. You're half tempted to whisper, "Guys, he's literally omniscient," but you're just here to watch the drama unfold. Here's a mainstream fact. This moment in Christian theology marks the first time humans experience shame, a direct result of their disobedience, setting the stage for the fall that ripples through the rest of the Bible. It's like the moment your perfect streak of never getting caught ends. For a quirky tidbit, some Jewish midrashim suggest the fig leaves were from the very tree they ate from, like the trees mocking them by being their only cover. Talk about adding insult to injury. Imagine hiding from your boss in a suit made of the paperwork you messed up. Historians still argue whether this shame was about literal nakedness or a deeper loss of innocence, like realizing the world's not as kind as you thought. Was it just about their bodies, or about seeing their own flaws for the first time? You're watching it happen, and it feels like both. You're crouched near a tree, trying not to rustle the leaves yourself, as Adam and Eve huddle in their makeshift hideout. It's kinda sad, honestly. They were strolling with God like besties yesterday. Now they're playing hide and seek with the creator of the universe. You can't help but chuckle at their attempt to lawyer up blaming each other, like kids caught drawing on the walls. Remember that time you said your dog ate your homework and your teacher just raised an eyebrow? Yeah, this is that, but with the creator of the universe as the teacher. God's questions aren't angry, exactly, but they're sharp, cutting through the nonsense to the heart of what went wrong. You're starting to feel the weight of this moment. It's not just about a fruit or some bad fashion choices. It's about trust breaking, like when you let a friend down and can't look them in the eye. Adam and Eve are standing there, exposed in every way, and you're wondering how they'll face what's coming. The serpent's nowhere to be seen, probably slinking off to avoid the fallout. You're tempted to peek at that tree again, its remaining fruits still glinting like it's laughing at the chaos it caused. For now, you're caught in the silence after God's questions. It's a garden holding its breath, waiting for the consequences to drop like a plot twist nobody saw coming. You're still in Eden, but the garden's vibe feels like it's been demoted from paradise to awkward aftermath of a bad decision. The air's heavy, like the moment after you've been caught sneaking out and you're waiting for the punishment to drop. Adam and Eve are standing there, fig leaves wilting under God's gaze, their excuses fizzling out like a bad stand-up routine. You're close enough to see the sweat on their brows, their eyes darting like they're hoping for a divine PowerPoint to explain how to fix this. God's presence is all around, calm but unyielding, and you're about to feel the weight of his judgments on the serpent, Eve, Cain, Adam. You probably won't survive this without remembering every time you tried to talk your way out of a speeding ticket. God starts with the serpent, and you lean in, catching every word. Genesis 3:14-15 says he curses it to crawl on its belly and eat dust. A serious downgrade from whatever swagger it had before. You imagine it slinking away, muttering, "I used to have legs, you know." God also declares enmity between the serpent and the woman's offspring, hinting at a future showdown. You're picturing a cosmic wrestling match, and the serpent's not looking so smug now. Then God turns to Eve, and you wince as he lays out her consequences: pain in childbirth and a complicated dynamic with her husband. It's like being told your new job comes with endless overtime and no coffee breaks. Adam's next, and God doesn't hold back because of him. The ground's cursed, and he'll toil for food, sweating through a life that's now got an expiration date. You're thinking, ouch, farming with no tractors? Hard pass. You're standing there, the garden's beauty now tinged with this heavy vibe, like a party where someone just turned off the music. The curses hit hard, not just because they're tough, but because they're so final. Adam and Eve went from naming animals to signing up for a lifetime of hard labor and pain. You can't help but chuckle, though imagine Adam looking at a thorny weed and realizing he's got to pull it by hand. It's like signing up for a gym membership you didn't want. But beneath the humor, you feel the shift. Eden's still here, with its rivers and fruit, but it's like the warranty just expired. You're watching the first humans process that they've traded paradise for a world where easy isn't a thing anymore. Here's a mainstream fact. These curses in Genesis 3 are central to Christian theology, explaining why the world has suffering, death, and conflict, direct result of the fall. It's like the moment your perfect phone screen cracks and nothing's ever the same. For a quirky tidbit, some Jewish midrashim suggest the serpent's curse to eat dust wasn't literal, but a metaphor for a life of humiliation, like being forced to live off the scraps of your bad choices. Historians still argue whether these curses were meant as punishment or natural consequences of free will. Like if you touch a hot stove, you don't get to complain about the burn. Was God setting boundaries or just letting gravity do its thing? You're feeling the weight of it, like you're witnessing the fine print of human existence being written in real time. You glance at Adam and Eve, their faces a mix of shock and resignation. Eve's probably thinking about how childbirth sounds like a nightmare, while Adam's already dreading his new career in manual labor. You're tempted to pat them on the back and say, "At least you've got each other," but you're not. Sure, that's much comfort. Remember that time you broke a rule and thought, "It's fine, I'll deal with it," only to realize the fallout was way worse than you expected. Yeah, this is that, but with cosmic stakes. The serpent's long gone, probably practicing its new slither in the shadows. You're standing by a tree, its fruit still gleaming like it's gloating. The garden's hum is quieter now, like it's grieving the loss of what was. You take a deep breath, the air still sweet, but carrying a hint of something new maybe. Regret, maybe reality. Adam and Eve aren't hiding anymore. They're just standing there, taking it all in. You're wondering how they'll cope, knowing they've got a whole world of thorns and sweat ahead. God's voice lingers, not angry, but firm, like a parent who's disappointed but still loves you. You're starting to see why this story sticks with people. It's not just about a fruit or a snake. It's about what happens when you cross a line you can't uncross. For now, you're caught in the moment. The garden's beauty, a bittersweet backdrop to the consequences settling in like dust. You're still in Eden, but the garden's charm feels like a fading Instagram filter. All the vibrancy dulled by the fallout you just witnessed. As Adam and Eve stand before God, their fig leaf outfits sagging like a metaphor for their broken dreams. The air's thick with the aftertaste of those curses paying toil, and a world that's about to get a lot less user-friendly. You're watching them, their faces a mix of regret and dread, as God delivers the final blow. They're getting kicked out. You're about to follow them down the bitter path out of paradise, into a world where WIF's not the only thing missing. And you probably won't survive this without rethinking every time you complained about a bad day. God's voice is calm, but final, like a landlord serving an eviction notice you can't negotiate. Genesis 3:22-24 says, He decides Adam and Eve can't stay. Not because he's petty, but because they've changed the game. They ate from the tree of knowledge, and now they're aware of good and evil, cool, but dangerous. God's worried they'll grab fruit from the tree of life next and live forever in this messed up state. Like glitching a video game and getting stuck in a buggy level. So he sends them packing. You see them gather what little they have spoiler. It's just their leaf outfits and start trudging toward the garden's edge. You're right behind, feeling the grass under your feet turn rougher, like Eden's already letting go. The path out is brutal, not because it's steep, but because every step screams no going back. You glance at the garden center, where the tree of life glows faintly, now guarded by cherubim pink, angelic bouncers with flaming swords. You're like, okay, God's not messing around. Adam's dragging his feet, probably thinking about how he went from naming animals to facing a lifetime of digging in dirt. Eve's quiet, her eyes scanning the horizon like she's trying to memorize the garden's colors before they fade. You can't help but chuckle. Imagine getting evicted from paradise and your only luggage is a bunch of leaves. It's like moving out with nothing but a reusable tote bag. Here's a mainstream fact. The expulsion from Eden is described in Genesis as a cornerstone in Judeo-Christian narratives, symbolizing humanity's shift from divine harmony to a world of struggle and mortality. It's like losing your VIP pass to the best club ever. For a quirky tidbit, some ancient texts, like the life of Adam and Eve, claim God gave them animal skins to wear before they left, like a divine hand-me-down to replace their sad fig leaf fashion. Historians still argue whether the banishment was a literal event or a metaphor for humanity's loss of innocence. Like moving from childhood to the real world where taxes exist. Was Eden a physical place, maybe in Mesopotamia, or a state of being we can't quite grasp? You're walking this path, and it feels real enough to sting. You're keeping pace with Adam and Eve. The gardens hum fading behind you, like a song you can't quite catch anymore. The air is getting dustier, the ground harder, and you're noticing thorns sprouting where there were none before. It's like the world's already rolling out the welcome mat for suffering. Eve's clutching Adam's arm, and you're wondering what they're thinking. Probably something like, okay, well, this escalated quickly. You're tempted to offer them a pep talk, but what do you say? Keen up, you'll invent fire eventually. Instead, you just follow, feeling the weight of their steps. Remember that time you got kicked out of a group chat for saying something dumb? This is that, but with cherubim and a flaming sword as moderators. The gardens, gates, soar, whatever. Invisible line marks its edge air behind you now. You look back, and Eden's already blurring, like a dream you're trying to hold on to as you wake up. Adam and Eve don't look back. They're staring at the barren landscape ahead, all rocks and dust, like a post-apocalyptic movie set on a budget. You're struck by how sudden it all feels. One bite, one bad choice, and now they're out here, where the WIF's non-existent, and the fruit doesn't grow on trees anymore. Well, it does, but you've got to work for it. You're starting to get why this story hits so hard. It's not just about losing a garden. It's about losing a home you can't return to. For now, you're walking with them, the dust kicking up around your feet, wondering how they'll survive. What's next? You're still out here in the dusty wilderness. It's the memory of Eden's lush green, now a distant vibe, like a vacation photo you can't stop scrolling past. The sun's dipping low, painting the rocky plain in shades of orange, and you're with Adam and Eve, who've been scratching out a life from this stubborn earth. They're tougher now, their hands calloused from endless digging, but there's a new spark in their eyes, something hopeful. You're about to meet their kids, Cain and Abel, the next chapter in this gritty human story. But even as you feel the warmth of new life, there's a shadow creeping in, like a storm cloud nobody invited. You probably won't survive this without rethinking every family drama you've ever grown through. Adam and Eve have settled into a rhythm, working the land like they're auditioning for a survival show with no prize money. Eve's got a glow about her though, okay? And you realize what Genesis 4:1-2 tells us she's given birth to Cain, their firstborn, followed by Abel. You're there as they cradle these tiny humans, their faces a mix of exhaustion and wonder, like they've just pulled off a miracle in a world that's not exactly baby-friendly. Cain's got a squinting, curious look, like he's already plotting something, while Abel's calmer, gazing at the sky like it's telling him stories. You can't help but smile. Parenting without diapers or Google must be wild. It's like trying to raise kids with nothing but a YouTube tutorial stuck on buffering. You're hanging out near their makeshift camp, maybe helping stack some firewood, as Adam and Eve figure out this whole parenting gig. Cain's toddling around, grabbing at weeds like they're toys, while Abel's content to watch ants march in a line. You're struck by how normal it feels, despite the harsh backdrop. They're a family, building something new, even if the ground's still cursed and the thorns are relentless. But there's a tension in the air, like a song going off-key. Genesis hints at it. Cain grows up to be a farmer, taming the land like his dad, while Abel becomes a shepherd, tending flocks with a gentle hand. You're watching them grow, and already you sense a rift forming, like siblings arguing over who gets the bigger slice of cake. Here's a mainstream fact. Cain and Abel's story in Genesis 4 marks the first family in biblical history, showing how humanity expands, but also how sin starts to creep into the next generation. It's like the sequel nobody asked for, but everyone's stuck watching. For a quirky tidbit, some ancient Jewish texts, like the Targum Pseudo-Jonathan, suggest Cain and Abel weren't just brothers, but twins, born in one go, which makes their rivalry even spicier. Like, imagine sharing a womb and still beefing over who's the favorite. Historians still argue whether their story is a literal account or a symbolic tale about human conflict, like whether it's history or a parable about jealousy and choice. Are Cain and Abel real people or archetypes of humanity's struggles? You're watching them and it feels personal, like a family feud you can't look away from. You're sitting by the fire now, a crackle mixing with the soft bleats of Abel's sheep in the distance. Cain's off checking his crops, probably muttering about how the soils got it out for him. You're starting to see the shadow of sin stretching, not in some dramatic movie villain way, but in the small stuff Cain's clenched jaw, Abel's quiet confidence. It's like watching a reality show where you know the drama's about to pop off. Remember that time you and your sibling fought over who got to control the TV remote? Yeah, this is that, but with offerings to God and way higher stakes. You're tempted to nudge Eve and say, keep an eye on those two, but you're just a guest here, soaking in the moment. The stars are out now, twinkling like they're gossiping about what's coming. Adam and Eve are tucking in their boys, their faces soft but tired, like they know this world's only going to get harder. You're feeling it too, the weight of new beginnings mixed with the creeping sense that sin's not done with this family. Cain and Abel are just kids now, but you can already sense the storm brewing, like a group chat that's about to explode over a misunderstood text. For now, you're caught in the quiet, the fire's glow warming your face. As you watch this family carve out a life in a world that's forgotten how to be easy. The night's calm, but you know it's the kind of calm that comes before everything changes. You're still camped out in this dusty corner of the world. It's far from Eden's lost glow, where the stars overhead feel like they're watching a drama unfold. Its fires crackling low, casting shadows on Adam and Eve's makeshift shelter, where Cain and Abel are growing up faster than a time-lapse video. You're watching these brothers, now young men, carve out their own paths, Cain wrestling with the stubborn earth, Abel tending his flocks with a chill vibe. But that shadow you sensed before, it's growing like a group chat, spiraling out of control, and you're about to see how the choices made in Eden ripple outward, staining the world with sin's messy fingerprints. You probably won't survive this without rethinking every sibling rivalry you've ever had. Cain's out in the fields, sweating over his crops, his face set in a permanent scowl like the ground's personally offended him. Abel's nearby, whistling to his sheep, looking like he's got life figured out. Genesis 4:3-5 sets the scene. They both bring offerings to God, Cain with some of his harvest, Abel with the best of his flock. You're standing there, close enough to smell the grain and the roasted lamb, when God gives Abel's offering a divine thumbs up, but rejects Cain's. Ouch. You can see Cain's face darken, like he just got left on red by the Creator. You're thinking, dude, maybe next time, bring the good stuff. But it's deeper than that. This isn't just about offerings, it's about heart, and Cain's starting to stew in a way that feels all too familiar. God tries to talk him down, saying in Genesis 4-7, if you do well, won't you be accepted? But if not, sin's crouching at the door. You're watching Cain, his jaw tight, ignoring the advice like you did when your mom said, don't eat that expired yogurt. Then it happens, Genesis 4-8. Cain lures Abel out to the field, and you're there, heart sinking as he lashes out. No gory details, but Abel's down, and Cain's standing over him, hands trembling like he didn't mean for it to go that far. You're stunned, whispering, Cain, what did you do? It's like watching a family argument turn into a true crime episode. Okay, you can't look away. Here's a mainstream fact. Cain's murder of Abel in Genesis 4 is the Bible's first recorded act of violence, showing how sin spreads from Adam and Eve's disobedience to their kids' deadly choices. It's like a virus jumping host, no vaccine in sight. For a quirky tidbit, some ancient Jewish texts, like the Midrash Tanhuma, suggest Cain didn't even know how to kill Abel. He just hit him out of rage. And death was a surprise to everyone, like accidentally inventing the wheel, but for crime. Historians still argue whether this story is literal or a symbolic warning about jealousy and unchecked anger. Like a cautionary tale for every time you've wanted to yeet your sibling's phone out the window. Was it a real murder or a metaphor for humanity's knack for self-destruction? You're watching, and it feels raw. It's like a wound that won't heal. You're standing in the field now, the air heavy with dust and regret. Cain's pacing, muttering to himself, while God's voice cuts through, asking, "Where's your brother?" You can't help but chuckle. Grimly, God's got that I already know the answer tone. Like your teacher catching you with gum. In class, Cain snaps back, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Bold move, buddy, sassing the creator. God doesn't let it slide, cursing Cain to wander as a fugitive, his crops doomed to fail. You're watching him stumble away, marked by God to protect him from vengeance. But alone, like he's been kicked out of the family group chat for good. It's heavy, and you're feeling the ripple effect. Eden's fall didn't just mess up Adam and Eve. It's now tearing their kids apart. You glance back at Adam and Eve's camp, where they're probably just hearing the news. Their faces crumpling like they've lost more than a son. They've lost the hope of a fresh start. Remember that time you fought with a friend and said something you couldn't take back? This is that, but with stakes so high, you can't even wrap your head around it. The world feels bigger now, messier, like sin's taken root, and it's not going anywhere. You're tempted to sit by the fire, let its warmth chase away the chill, but the story's moving, and you're caught in this pool, watching humanity's choices spread like cracks in a windshield, each one a reminder of that forbidden fruit back in Eden. You're still out here under the stars, the fire's embers barely glowing now, and the weight of Adam and Eve's story is sinking in like a late-night thought spiral. The wilderness around you feels like a blank canvas, stretching beyond where Eden used to be, and you're starting to see how this tale of fruit and fallout has left its mark on the world. It's not just a dusty old story, it's a cultural juggernaut, shaping art, books, and arguments that still pop off today. You're about to wander through the fingerprints this narrative's left on humanity's imagination, from paintings to poems to ex-posts that spark heated threads. You probably won't survive this without wondering if every bad decision you've made deserves its own Renaissance painting. Picture yourself stepping into a grand cathedral, the kind with the ceilings so high they make you feel small. You're staring at a fresco Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, to be exact, where Adam's finger almost touches God's. And Eve's nearby, looking like she knows the fruit drama's coming. This 16th century masterpiece is just one way the story's been etched into art. It's capturing that moment of creation with a vibe that screams humanity's about to be a hot mess. You wander further, imagining medieval tapestries where Eve's holding that fateful fruit, or Renaissance sculptures of Adam looking like he's already dreading his farming career. It's like the story's a meme that went viral before the internet, inspiring artists to paint humanity's first oopsie in every shade of divine disappointment. Now, you're flipping through pages, landing in a library where John Milton's Paradise Lost sits heavy on a shelf. The 17th century epic poem spins Adam and Eve's tale into a cosmic soap opera, with Satan stealing the show like a villain who knows he's got the best lines. You're reading lines about Eve's temptation, feeling the weight of her choice. And you can't help but chuckle. Milton's version makes it sound like she was seduced by a fruit-based TED Talk. The story's also in modern books, movies, even songs like that one indie track you swear references Eden's forbidden snack. It's everywhere, like a catchy tune you can't unhear, shaping how we think about choice, guilt, and second chances. Here's a mainstream fact. The Adam and Eve story has inspired countless works of art and literature. It's from medieval manuscripts to modern novels, making it one of the most enduring narratives in Western culture. It's like the ultimate franchise, no reboot needed. For a quirky tidbit, some 19th century artists painted Eve with a dinosaur in the background because they thought Eden coexisted with prehistoric beasts. Talk about a wild crossover episode. Historians still argue whether the story is cultural. Impact comes from its universal themes of rebellion and consequence, or its religious weight, like whether it's a shared human archetype or a faith-specific cautionary tale. Is it resonating because we all mess up, or because it's been drilled into us for centuries? You're mulling it over, and it feels like a bit of both. You're back in the present now, scrolling through your mental X feed, where posts about Adam and Eve spark debates hotter than a summer sidewalk. Some folks argue it's a metaphor for growing up. Others say it's a literal warning about disobeying God. You see, feminists takes calling out Eve's bad rap, pointing out she was just curious, not the villain pop culture sometimes paints her as. It's like everyone's got a hot take, and you're tempted to chime in, but you're too busy dodging the comment section's chaos. Remember that time you posted something online and it spiraled into a debate you didn't sign up for? This story's been doing that for millennia, like a thread that never dies. You're leaning back, the night air cooled against your skin, and you're starting to see why this tale sticks. It's not just about a garden or a fruit, it's about the human knack for screwing up and still chasing meaning. You're picturing a modern art piece, maybe a neon sign flashing forbidden fruit. Worth it. And you chuckle, because yeah, we're still wrestling with that question. The stories in TV shows where characters face Eden-like choices, and in classrooms where kids debate whether Eve was framed. It's even in your own life, every time you pick the risky option over the safe one. For now, you're caught in the story's glow, the stars above whispering its echoes as you wonder how one bite could ripple through art, words, and arguments across time. You're still out here under the vast night sky, the fires, embers, barely glowing now, and the weight of Adam and Eve's story is sinking in like a late-night thought spiral. The wilderness around you feels like a blank canvas, stretching beyond where Eden used to be, and you're starting to see how this tale of fruit and fallout has left its mark on the world. It's not just a dusty old story, it's a cultural juggernaut, shaping art, books, and arguments that still pop off today. You're about to wander through the fingerprints this narrative's left on humanity's imagination. From paintings to poems to X-posts that spark heated threads. You probably won't survive this without wondering if every bad decision you've made deserves its own Renaissance painting. Picture yourself stepping into a grand cathedral, the kind with ceilings so high they make you feel small. You're staring at a fresco Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, to be exact, where Adam's finger almost touches God's, and Eve's nearby, looking like she knows the fruit drama's coming. This 16th century masterpiece is just one way the story's been etched into art, capturing that moment of creation with a vibe that screams, humanity's about to be a hot mess. You wander further, imagining medieval tapestries where Eve's holding that fateful fruit, or Renaissance sculptures of Adam, looking like he's already dreading his farming career. It's like the story's a meme that went viral before the internet, inspiring artists to paint humanity's first oopsie in every shade of divine's disappointment. Now you're flipping through pages, landing in a library where John Milton's Paradise Lost sits heavy on a shelf. 17th century epic poem spins Adam and Eve's tale into a cosmic soap opera, with Satan stealing the show like a villain who knows he's got the best lines. You're reading lines about Eve's temptation, feeling the weight of her choice, and you can't help but chuckle. Milton's version makes it sound like she was seduced by a fruit-based TED Talk. The story's also in modern books, movies, even songs, like that one indie track you swear references Eden's forbidden snack. It's everywhere, like a catchy tune you can't unhear. shaping how we think about choice, guilt, and second chances. Here's a mainstream fact. The Adam and Eve story has inspired countless works of art and literature, from medieval manuscripts to modern novels, making it one of the most enduring narratives in Western culture. It's like the ultimate franchise, no reboot needed. For a quirky tidbit, some 19th century artists painted Eve with a dinosaur in the background, because they thought Eden coexisted with prehistoric beasts. Talk about a wild crossover episode. Historians still argue whether the story's cultural impact comes from its universal themes of rebellion and consequence, or its religious weight. Like whether it's a shared human archetype or a faith-specific cautionary tale. Is it resonating because we all mess up, or because it's been drilled into us for centuries? You're mulling it over, and it feels like a bit of both. You're back in the present now, scrolling through your mental X feed, where posts about Adam and Eve spark debates hotter than a summer sidewalk. Some folks argue it's a metaphor for growing up. Others say it's a literal warning about disobeying God. You see feminists takes calling out Eve's bad rap, pointing out she was just curious, not the villain pop culture sometimes paints her as. It's like everyone's got a hot take, and you're tempted to chime in, but you're too busy dodging the comment section's chaos. Remember that time you posted something online and it spiraled into a debate you didn't sign up for? This story's been doing that for millennia, like a thread that never dies. You're leaning back, the night air cooled against your skin, and you're starting to see why this tale sticks. It's not just about a garden or a fruit. It's about the human knack for screwing up and still chasing meaning. You're picturing a modern art piece, maybe a neon sign flashing forbidden fruit. Worth it? And you chuckle, because, yeah, we're still wrestling with that question. The stories in TV shows where characters face Eden-like choices, and in classrooms where kids debate whether Eve was framed. It's even in your own life, every time you pick the risky option over the safe one. For now, you're caught in the story's glow, the stars above whispering its echoes as you wonder how one bite could ripple through art, words, and arguments across time. You're still out here under the stars, the fire's embers barely glowing now. And the weight of Adam and Eve's story is sinking in like a late-night thought spiral. The wilderness around you feels like a blank canvas stretching beyond where Eden used to be, and you're starting to see how this tale of fruit and fallout has left its mark on the world. It's not just a dusty old story, it's a cultural juggernaut, shaping art, books, and arguments that still pop off today. You're about to wander through the fingerprints this narrative's left on humanity's imagination. From paintings to poems to X-posts that spark heated threads. You probably won't survive this without wondering if every bad decision you've made deserves its own Renaissance painting. Picture yourself stepping into a grand cathedral. It's the kind with ceilings so high they make you feel small. You're staring at a fresco Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, to be exact, where Adam's finger almost touches God's, and Eve's nearby, looking like she knows the fruit drama's coming. This 16th century masterpiece is just one way the story's been etched into art, capturing that moment of creation with a vibe that screams, humanity's about to be a hot mess. You wander further, imagining medieval tapestries where Eve's holding that fateful fruit, or Renaissance sculptures of Adam looking like he's already dreading his farming career. It's like the story's a meme that went viral before the internet, inspiring artists to paint humanity's first oopsie in every shade of divine disappointment. Now you're flipping through pages, landing in a library where John Milton's Paradise Lost sits heavy on a shelf. This 17th century epic poem spins Adam and Eve's tale into a cosmic soap opera, with Satan stealing the show like a villain who knows he's got the best lines. You're reading lines about Eve's temptation, feeling the weight of her choice, and you can't help but chuckle. Milton's version makes it sound like she was seduced by a fruit-based talk. The story's also in modern books, movies, even songs. Like that one indie track you swear references Eden's forbidden snack. It's everywhere, like a catchy tune you can't unhear, shaping how we think about choice, guilt, and second chances. Here's a mainstream fact. The Adam and Eve story has inspired countless works of art and literature, from medieval manuscripts to modern novels, making it one of the most enduring narratives in Western culture. It's like the ultimate franchise, no reboot needed. For a quirky tidbit, some 19th century artists painted Eve with a dinosaur in the background because they thought Eden coexisted with prehistoric beasts. Talk about a wild crossover episode. Historians still argue whether the story's cultural impact comes from its universal themes of rebellion and consequence, or its religious weight, like whether it's a shared human archetype or a faith-specific cautionary tale. Is it resonating because we all mess up, or because it's been drilled into us for centuries? You're mulling it over, and it feels like a bit of both. You're back in the present now, scrolling through your mental X feed, where posts about Adam and Eve spark debates hotter than a summer sidewalk. Some folks argue it's a metaphor for growing up. Others say it's a literal warning about disobeying God. You see, feminists takes calling out Eve's bad rap, pointing out she was just curious, not the villain pop culture sometimes paints her as. It's like everyone's got a hot take, and you're tempted to chime in, but you're too busy dodging the comment section's chaos. Remember that time you posted something online and it spiraled into a debate you didn't sign up for? This story's been doing that for millennia, like a thread that never dies. You're leaning back, the night air cool against your skin, and you're starting to see why this tale sticks. It's not just about a garden or a fruit. It's about the human neck for screwing up and still chasing meaning. You're picturing a modern art piece, maybe a neon sign flashing forbidden fruit. Worth it? And you chuckle, because, yeah, we're still wrestling with that question. The stories in TV shows where characters face Eden-like choices, and in classrooms where kids debate whether Eve was framed. It's even in your own life, every time you pick the risky option over the safe one. For now, you're caught in the story's glow, the stars above whispering its echoes as you wonder how one bite could ripple through art, words, and arguments across time. You're still out here under the vast night sky. The fire's embers barely glowing now. The weight of Adam and Eve's story is sinking in like a late-night thought spiral. The wilderness around you feels like a blank canvas, stretching beyond where Eden used to be, and you're starting to see how this tale of fruit and fallout has left its mark on the world. It's not just a dusty old story, it's a cultural juggernaut, shaping art, books, and arguments that still pop off today. You're about to wander through the fingerprints this narrative's left on humanity's imagination, from paintings to poems to X-posts that spark heated threads. You probably won't survive this without wondering if every bad decision you've made deserves its own Renaissance painting. Picture yourself stepping into a grand cathedral, the kind with ceilings so high they make you feel small. You're staring at a fresco Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, to be exact, where Adam's finger almost touches God's, and Eve's nearby, looking like she knows the fruit drama's coming. This 16th century masterpiece is just one way the story's been etched into art, capturing that moment of creation with a vibe that screams, humanity's about to be a hot mess. Cass, you wander further, imagining medieval tapestries where Eve's holding that fateful fruit, or Renaissance sculptures of Adam looking like he's already dreading his farming career. It's like the story's a meme that went viral before the internet, inspiring artists to paint humanity's first oopsie in every shade of divine disappointment. Now you're flipping through pages, landing in a library where John Milton's Paradise Lost sits heavy on a shelf. This 17th century epic poem spins Adam and Eve's tale into a cosmic soap opera, with Satan stealing the show like a villain who knows he's got the best lines. You're reading lines about Eve's temptation, feeling the weight of her choice. And you can't help but chuckle. Milton's version makes it sound like she was seduced by a fruit-based TED Talk. The story's also in modern books, movies, even songs, like that one indie track you swear references Eden's forbidden snack. It's everywhere, like a catchy tune you can't unhear, shaping how we think about choice, guilt, and second chances. Here's a mainstream fact. The Adam and Eve story has inspired countless works of art and literature, high from medieval manuscripts to modern novels, making it one of the most enduring narratives in Western culture. It's like the ultimate franchise, no reboot needed. For a quirky tidbit, some 19th century artists painted Eve with a dinosaur in the background because they thought Eden coexisted with prehistoric beasts. Talk about a wild crossover episode. Historians still argue whether the story's cultural impact comes from its universal themes of rebellion and consequence or its religious weight. Like whether it's a shared human archetype or a faith-specific cautionary tale. Is it resonating because we all mess up, or because it's been drilled into us for centuries? You're mulling it over, and it feels like a bit of both. You're back in the present now, scrolling through your mental X feed, where posts about Adam and Eve spark debates hotter than a summer sidewalk. Some folks argue it's a metaphor for growing up. Others say it's a literal warning about disobeying God. You see feminists takes calling out Eve's bad rap, pointing out she was just curious, not the villain pop culture sometimes paints her as. It's like everyone's got a hot take and you're tempted to chime in, but you're too busy dodging the comment section's chaos. Remember that time you posted something online and it spiraled into a debate you didn't sign up for? This story's been doing that for millennia, like a thread that never dies. You're leaning back, the night air cooled against your skin, and you're starting to see why this tale sticks. It's not just about a garden or fruit, it's about the human knack for screwing up and still chasing meaning. You're picturing a modern art piece, maybe a neon sign flashing forbidden fruit. Worth it? And you chuckle, because yeah, we're still wrestling with that question. So stories and TV shows where characters face Eden-like choices, and in classrooms where kids debate whether Eve was framed. It's even in your own life, every time you pick the risky option over the safe one. For now, you're caught in the story's glow, the stars above whispering its echoes as you wonder how one bite could ripple through art, words, and arguments across time. You're still out here under the vast night sky, the fire's embers barely glowing now, and the weight of Adam and Eve's story is sinking in like a late-night thought spiral. The wilderness around you feels like a blank canvas, stretching beyond where Eden used to be, and you're starting to see how this tale of fruit and fallout has left its mark on the world. It's not just a dusty old story, it's a cultural juggernaut, shaping art, books, and arguments that still pop off today. You're about to wander through the fingerprints this narrative's left on humanity's imagination. From paintings, to poems, to ex-posts that spark heated threads. You probably won't survive this without wondering if every bad decision you've made deserves its own Renaissance painting. Think about it. That one bite changed everything. Adam and Eve chose the fruit, and suddenly they're trading paradise for a world of thorns and sweat. You're replaying it in your head, seeing Eve's hand reach out, Adam's hesitant bite, and the shame that followed like a bad hangover. It's about choice, how one decision can ripple out, like when you sent that risky text and spent a week dodging the fallout. Genesis shows their choice as the root of sin, a crack in the human soul that Cain's anger and Abel's blood only deepened. You're mulling over how every time you've ignored a gut feeling, say, eating that extra taco at 2 a.m. you've felt a tiny echo of their mistake. It's human, messy, and universal, like forgetting your lines in the play of life. But there's hope woven in, too. You're picturing the Christian view, where redemption comes through a savior, like a cosmic CTRL plus Z for humanity's errors, Jewish tradition leans into choosing better next time, with the Torah as a guide, like a life hack for avoiding forbidden fruit. Islam's take has Adam and Hawa forgiven, sent to earth with a promise of guidance. Like getting a map after you've already gotten lost. You're struck by how each faith finds light in the story's shadow, a reminder that screwing up doesn't mean game over. You chuckle, thinking of your own life, how you've bounced back from dumb moves. Like that time you tried to fix your haircut with kitchen scissors. Redemption's not just a buzzword, it's the thread that keeps this story alive. Here's a mainstream fact: the Adam and Eve narrative, across religions, shapes ethical frameworks, teaching that choices carry weight and redemption's always possible. It's like a moral compass for navigating life's chaos. For a quirky tidbit, some medieval scholars thought the forbidden fruit gave Adam and Eve literal knowledge. Like they suddenly understood math or how to make fire. Imagine them solving algebra in fig leaves. Historians still argue whether the story's meant to explain sin's origin or inspire hope for fixing our flaws. Like a debate over whether it's a warning sign or a comeback story. Is it about why we suffer or how we rise? You're sitting here, and it feels like both, tug of war between regret and possibility. You're gazing at the stars now, each one a tiny spark against the dark, and you're feeling the story's pull, It's not just about a garden or a snake. It's about you every time you've chosen wrong, felt shame, or hoped for a fresh start. You laugh softly, thinking of how you'd probably have eaten that fruit too, just to see what the hype was about. Remember that time you ignored advice and ended up lost, but found your way home anyway? That's the story, a map of human stumbles and the stubborn hope that keeps you going. The night's wrapping around you now, soft and heavy. Like a blanket you don't want to shrug off. Wind down, you let your eyes drift. The stars blaring into a gentle shimmer, like whispers of light in a world that's seen its share of shadows. The story of Adam and Eve settles in your chest, not as a warning, but as a quiet promise that choices shape you, but they don't define you. The earth beneath you feels steady, its cool touch grounding you as the fire's last warmth fades. You're not in Eden, but you're here, breathing, dreaming, with a chance to make tomorrow kinder than today. Let the night carry you now, its silence a soft hum, guiding you toward rest. Sleep well, knowing every misstep's just a step toward something new.